Hi, my name is Teal, and I'm your host for the SweatNet Be Amazing podcast, where we share stories of amazing women who live in our communities. My hope is that you will feel encouraged and inspired after listening to each episode. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining me today on the Be Amazing podcast hosted by SweatNet. Before we get started, I want you to mark your calendar for May 22nd and 23rd, 2021, because Strong Camp, which is part of Strong Fitness Magazine, is coming to Charlotte. And I'm so thrilled to be the ambassador to bring it here. But we are going to have an incredible team of women who are going to be teaching classes. I've got guest speakers lined up. It's just going to be an incredible time. You don't want to miss it. For more information, you just go to my Instagram. It's Seal Smart. Click on the link tree. It'll take you right to Strong Camp, all the information you need, and you can register there. So I'm so excited. I hope you'll join me for that. Well, now let's get started with today's podcast. My next guest is Betsy Anderson Gilman. Now, I know Betsy because I work with her in Ready Fitness. That's how we met. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And for those of you that don't know about Ready Fitness, this is what I do full time. I outfit gyms. So that's why fitness is such a big part of my life. I work with multifamily. I work with small gym owners to help them lay out their facilities as well as pick out equipment. So that's what Ready Fitness is. And Betsy is in charge of our marketing and social media and all of that. And that's how we met. And she's just incredible. And there's so much about her. She worked for CNN for 16 years as a TV producer. She's a writer. Well, she left all that to pursue her passion for barefoot skiing, which is a sport you don't really hear much about, and she's going to talk about all that. And she's going to talk about, what it was like working in TV, what it's like writing, what her life is like now. She's recovered from several injuries, but just going after your passion and being who you are. She's such a big believer in that as women, we need to own who we are and rock that. So stay tuned for this incredible conversation with Betsy Anderson Gilman. Welcome to the show, Betsy. I'm so glad you're here. So tell us a little bit about who you are.
So I'm Betsy Anderson Gilman. I have been a lifelong TV producer, and in 2016 I left kind of my career behind to barefoot waterski,
which is so cool. And little side note to everyone listening. So Betsy is amazing because I actually met her through Ready Fitness and through the social media and all the things that you do for us there. But it's just been, we just hit it off. And I have such an appreciation for your skills and how you write and produce material and content. So I thought it would be so much fun to talk a little bit about that, but then talk about your love for barefoot skiing, because that's not it's not like a common sport that you hear everybody talk about.
It's not. No, it's a crazy thing. Not a lot of people do it. So everybody's always like, what do you do? What? Huh? So, but yeah.
Starting out, let's talk about when did you want to be a TV producer?
I never wanted to be a TV producer. I started out, my first thing that I ever wrote that was published. So I started reading and writing really young. I was about 3 years old. And I had the first thing that was ever published. I wrote a poem for a little teacher's magazine in the 3rd grade. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a writer. That's what I'm going to do. And it was done. And so I've always loved to write and read, and I've loved language. And it's just something that feeds me. Even if I don't need to do it for work, I do it for fun a lot. And I actually write if I'm cleaning house or doing other things. I do yoga a lot. I write when I'm in yoga. And sometimes it can just take a line in my head, and something amazing will come out of it. That's how it's definitely something that it's a love of mine. And so I didn't want to be a TV producer. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to go and around the world and write for newspapers. Well, as you know, their newspapers are basically dead. Everything is online now. And but I went to school in Southern California, and my first job, I wanted to go and work for the LA Times, and I couldn't get in, so I started working for KNX News Radio, which was CBS owned and operated news radio station. I worked the morning drive, so I went to work at midnight and worked until 10 a.m. And I wrote. So I learned like quick production writing, and then they had a TV station that was attached to it, and they needed somebody to fill in. So I worked there and wrote for TV, and that's how I got into TV. I worked for all the local stations in LA in various capacities on the assignment desk at KNBC and for a talk show at KNBC. And I worked in features planning at the Fox local station. So I did a lot locally in LA, and then sent a blind resume to CNN after I graduated, and I got into CNN at the lowest level, which is called a video journalist at the time, not like the MTV video journalist, if people remember that. And I packed up my car and I drove across country with everything I owned in my car and moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and worked at CNN, which was the most amazing thing. I mean, I got to witness history in so many different ways. So that's how I became a TV producer. I really didn't want to. I wanted to be a newspaper reporter.
That's so cool. Did you ever want to be in front of the camera, or
never?
Okay.
Never.
I was curious if that was the case.
No, it's I am not, you know, they call it in TV, they call it when you have it. I don't have it, and I never wanted it. I wanted to create it.
I love that.
You know? Yeah. So that was, you know, and everybody has their own thing, you know. That was it.
That's so awesome. Well, so what's been your favorite moment, or is there a story that you wrote, or from that time with CNN, is there like something that just sticks out to you that was just like so satisfying as far as, you know, in your career, but then maybe also something that really touched you at the same time, being involved on that side?
I think when I worked, I was Sanjay Gupta's producer for his show, which was House Call with Sanjay Gupta. And it was on Saturday mornings. And I did a show for Veterans Day one year. And it was about veterans' health benefits and people that were struggling to get their veterans' health benefits. And I remember I had 300 veterans email me. And I worked with this guy, Jose, at the VA, and I got every one of those guys' answers. It was like a separate job. And that was like being able to help people like that in that way was, I think, the most rewarding, because I come from a military family, and my father was a veteran of Vietnam and Korea. My grandfather was a veteran of World War I. And to be able to help people that I know and love was probably the best story that I ever worked. What I was thinking at CNN. And then I also worked on Impact Your World, which is actually was kind of was developed from the Syrian war. And it was how people who are seeing the news can help the story. And those, I think, were the two projects that really were my favorite, because they help people. I'm not just telling the news, reporting the news, but helping people.
I love that, because I think that's kind of a misconception of people that are maybe in news or maybe even behind the scenes, like not really knowing that there is heart behind it. And it's more than just, you know, telling us what's happening for the day or what bad things are going on or good thing, you know, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I think that, and especially now, the media is demonized so much. If you would talk to most people and, you know, you really just want to tell the story so you can help people, right? It's not about telling the story to sensationalize it or get the ratings. Like at the end of the day, you want to know that you helped something, you helped someone, you helped change the world in some way. By letting the world know this story, you were able to open the door and inform and make people empathetic to other people's cause. Because I think we all, especially now, there's this tunnel vision. It's this way. I vote for this guy. I'm this guy's dude, and there's no other way, right? And I was raised to believe that you listen to a person, and we're Americans, and there's all sorts of things that make America, all sorts of people, and we all come from a different place, and you listen and you learn, and you can be empathetic to other things.
I'm so glad that you addressed that, because I feel like you were right about how news is looked at, the beating that the news is taking. And I'm sure from people that are behind the camera, there's probably a lot of moments of feeling attacked or discouraged, or, like we're just really wanting to tell the story. So I appreciate you sharing that view, because I really think it is important.
And it is super hard when people attack the media and say that we listen, with this, and we do this, and I say we, even though I've been out of it for a while, but those are my friends. I know their hearts, and if somebody in government says Jim Acosta is doing this, and I'm like, well, I know Jim Acosta, and Jim Acosta wouldn't do that. He's my friend, or Gary Tuckman is my friend. These are good people. And, it's hard for me to hear that. It's painful.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Because I just think perspective is important. And I think there's always more sides going on than what we see or what we hear.
Oh, yeah.
And there are real people, like,
that's the thing.
People. Yeah. And they're doing their job. So I appreciate that insight. I think that's super helpful. Well, I know that you're producing news, and then we'll jump into your whole barefoot skiing, because you're doing this at the same time that you're at CNN, right? This was like your hobby.
Right. Yeah. So I learned to barefoot ski when I moved to Georgia, and I worked the overnight shift at CNN Headline News, and would barefoot with a friend of mine on Lake Lanier. And then he stopped barefooting when he broke his pelvis, and I had to wait till I bought a boat. So in my late 20s, I bought my own boat finally, and started barefooting more and more, and loved it, but still worked. When you work at CNN, it's your life. Even before there were cell phones, I had a pager. It was like, I was always in touch, and long hours, and it was all encompassing. I was married for 10 years, and I barely saw my first husband, so I really chose to change my life as I got older, because I always say, the 90s were my dark decade, because all I did was work. Like, I worked all the time.
Did you stare at, like, were you intense? Because I've seen this in like movies and stuff, where somebody that's in news or whatever, like, they're so engaged with what's going on, like they're just wrapped up in it. Were you?
Oh yeah. Like, there was nothing, like, all of my friends were from CNN. All of my life was it was all about, the inside jokes, and it was all about the news and getting the story. And it was definitely like a one track thing.
Was it ever competitive? Did you ever have to felt like you were competing with another station to get the story first, or maybe even compete?
Oh yeah.
And was there all that went on too?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We had, back when there were just 4 channels, CNN, ABC, CBS, we had those 4 up in the newsroom, and we always wanted to be first, and usually, like ABC, CBS, and NBC, excuse me, we're like in like soap operas during the day, and we'd be taking something live, and we'd be like, gosh, so it was definitely, competitive, and you get so much caught up in it and getting the story that you forget about the rest of your life. So yeah, I definitely don't remember much about the 90s because all I did was work. Like when people talk about the 90s, I'm like, oh, that was this and that was that. And I gauge my life by big news stories.
So when did you actually transition? When did you make that? When did you know it was time to like make that?
I think so in 2016, I qualified. I wanted to qualify to ski the world, and I was 46 something. So 45, and I knew that I didn't want to. I wanted to really truly train because I've always barefooted, but I also had a real job, right? And I just wanted to take like 5 or 6 months and just focus on skiing. Like that's it. Like just focus on that. And so I asked for a leave of absence. And people take leave of absences to have a baby, to adopt a baby, to write a book, to go to school, whatever, right? And they were like, yeah, barefoot water skiing, not really a reason to take a leave of absence. And I'm like, all right, I'm out. So I really wanted to go quietly, but it wasn't that quiet that I left. But it was, so I left and it was March of 2016. And I spent the next 5 months just water skiing and it was fabulous. And I didn't quite reach my goal. My goal was to get a gold medal in barefoot jumping at the Barefoot Worlds in 2016. I got the silver by like this much. So I felt like it was okay.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's freaking awesome. So what are you doing? So let's talk about now with barefoot skiing. First of all, explain a little bit about what it is and why do you choose to barefoot versus just regular skis?
So it's very similar to traditional water skiing when there's 3 events. So there's tricks, there's slalom, and there's jumping. With jumping, you go over a little bitty jump. It's like 18 inches high and you go as far as you can go. And the biggest jump wins. With tricks, if you've ever seen trick skiing, which is like a little short, fat ski, it's almost the same tricks. There's a few different tricks, but every trick has a point value. A start has a point value. So you do one pass in 15 seconds. It's how many tricks you can do in 15 seconds. And you get points for each of the tricks. And then you go backwards for 15 seconds. And it's how many tricks you can do backwards in 15 seconds. And the point total is your point total. For slalom, it's different. You've seen slalom skiers go through like a course or something. It's how many times you cross the wake forward on one foot in 15 seconds and how many times you cross the wake backwards in 15 seconds. And you get a point for each crossing. So that's how it is. And you just go much faster. So like trick skiing is like at 15 to 20 miles an hour. And I trick at 43 miles an hour. So you have a much smaller surface area, your foot. So I'm a size 8.5 women's. Only hurts when you fall. So everybody asked me, it's like a hose is squirting at the bottom of your foot. It doesn't tickle, but no, it's quite an amazing feeling when you stop a moment and you think, okay, I'm going 45 miles an hour on one foot backwards. What is going on? Yeah, it's like it shouldn't work, but it does.
Yeah, because in my head, I'm just trying to figure it out in my head because I'm trying to picture it while you're talking about it. And I'm like, 43 miles an hour on your foot? Like, that's fast.
It's fast. It's fast. And so like I've only falls. I've had some I dislocated a hip in 2006 jumping because I landed and I was wishboned. And then I had a really bad concussion in 2010. And I dislocated and broke my shoulder and broke my humerus about a year ago. So
wow,
those are my big injuries.
So are you fully recovered from all that?
Oh yeah. So we were supposed to have the world championships, the 2020 world championships in Australia in April. it was going to be around my 50th birthday. So I had a whole day planned at the World Championship. It was vintage day. Everybody had to wear their oldest tracksuits, you know, and it was my 50th birthday. And so I was doing the blowout in Australia, and it was canceled. But what it did do is I dislocated and broke my shoulder August 30th. I couldn't move it in November, like couldn't move it on my own. And all of a sudden, all the nerve damage healed itself. And I skied for the first time in mid-December. I jumped for the first time New Year's Eve. And I jumped in competition for the first time February 1st. So I was motivated to ski the worlds. And I think that's why I came back. So I was 100% by April. So it was I was my job.
Wow.
I didn't, yeah. You know, when you come back from injury, it's like your job.
Well, and it doesn't always go that smooth. I mean, when you're coming back from an injury, sometimes it takes longer than what you want, you know?
Oh yeah.
So,
oh yeah. Yeah. And everybody told me, they go, oh no, it's going to take a year for you because you broke the arm and, you know, the shoulder came completely out. It was like down by my boob. And they're like, there's no way, you know, and the physical therapist was like, she said, you know, she said, if you work really hard, you might be able to ski by April. Well, I did. I was skiing almost back to normal by the 1st of February. It was weak, but now I don't even, people ask me, how's your shoulder? I go, what are you talking about?
Right. Like what? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Let's go to 2021. Are you going to Worlds then?
Yes. So they are doing Worlds in the fall of 2021 in Florida. So I'm hoping to make it to that one. So we'll see.
Awesome. We'll be cheering you on. That's
Thank you.
Yes, I love it. So with all of this barefoot skiing, now you compete yourself, but do you train people? Do you coach people?
I actually do. This last, so I made a list of 50 things I want to do in the next 50 years on my 50th birthday. And one of those things is to teach 50 people to barefoot or water ski. And this past summer, 32 people I did, and 10 of them were barefooters.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. It was great because I had so many young women that wanted to learn to barefoot. And that is like one of my things, is that I want more women to do it. Women are much more coachable and listen well, and are technically much more technically sound when they barefoot. So it's
okay. Well, this
prettier.
This means I'm gonna have to actually let you teach me.
Yes, that would be awesome. You would be great.
Well, I'm gonna have to come.
You're small and strong, you know, and that's what the best barefooters like. When I'm 5'7", but I'm like the Jolly Green Giant on the dock, because the women are usually like 5 foot, 5'2", and very strong. And I don't know how tall you are because I've never met you, but small and strong is good.
Yeah, that's the thing. Can you believe that? We have been talking, and it's been either go-to meeting, it's been on email, it's been by phone, and we've never been in the same space.
It's crazy.
That'll have to be our first meetup.
Yep, for sure. So yeah, you'd be great at it.
I think it'd be so fun. Do you love coaching? Have you found that you really love that?
That's my favorite thing, is to teach and to give people that, especially young people, the love of the water. I think to share what you love and to give somebody that confidence is amazing. So, you know, on my lake in Minnesota, where I spend my summers, all of the girls on the lake skied with me, and they send me pictures now of, oh, we miss skiing, we want to do this. And, you know, these are all like teenagers, you know, and it's so fun because I never had children. So I kind of consider them my children, you know, and my kids. And I think it's important for young women to know that they can still be strong, successful women, but they can also have fun and be an athlete and do fun things, you know?
Amen to that. I love that. I think that I'm such a big fan of when I hear somebody stepping out and trying something they've never done, like another, you know, like a friend or another woman that's like, you know, she's been super focused, whether she's a mom and that's what her total focus has been, or she's been in career and then all of a sudden is like, I'm going to go do a triathlon. I've never done it. Or I'm going to go try this, or, you know, and I'm just like, yes, go do that. It's amazing. Like,
yeah. And I find, and because I didn't have children, but I have, all my friends have children, my sisters and brothers have children, is that I find that people, when they do have children, that they're very focused. Women especially are focused on their child, and that's it, right? They forget about anything that they want to do. Now it's okay, like being a barefooter, I usually ski with a lot of men. The men have no problem making time for their stuff. The women, I think there's a big guilt thing. Like I know I'm the mom, and, you know, I'm gonna, you know, and I go, screw that. You know, you just go out and do what you want to do. And I think they'll be better mothers. You know, they won't resent their child because they gave everything to them, you know, because they grew up and leave, you know?
Well, yeah. And that's the part, because I have had this conversation with a couple of moms, even on the podcast, and we've talked about that, where women they feel like this overwhelming guilt if they decide to go, you know, go to the gym even, you know, like just doing that. And I'm like, no, because your kid's going to grow up and they're going to leave. And then you're going to be left with, what do I do now? Who am I now?
Yeah.
You have to do some things for yourself, for sure.
It's so true. And I don't think, you know, men don't have that problem, you know, like they do their own thing. Yeah. It's not a problem. So I always encourage women to try something new. I started swivel skiing this summer. I'm 50 years old, and swivel skiing it's very slow. It's 15 miles an hour. It's a binding that turns 360 degrees. It's the funniest thing. I'm an absolute crap show on it. But, you know, I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to try it. So I'm doing it, you know, and there's a lot of trial and error, but it's fun. And you know, and I think that I really would love to see more women try things after 30 or 40. You know, I teach swimming lessons too. And I find like a lot of the moms now are much younger than I am. And they will say to me, oh, you know, I used to ski when I was young, but now, you know, I'm too old. And I'll ask, well, how old are you? And they'll be like, well, 32. And I go, I didn't start barefooting till I was 29, you know? So I think, you know, you need to I think that women need to remember that they too are people too. And they can have their own dreams. They don't have to be always wrapped up in the family or the husband or the kids.
That's so important. That's such a good message. And like, you're really inspiring, because I think a lot of people do, like, they'll look at their age and be like, I'm too old to try that. Or I missed the time, you know, if I had just done that when I was, you know, 20s or maybe 30s. But I love the fact that you're like, no, do it now. Like, learn something now. Doesn't matter.
What I love about it now is I have the money to do it now. I bought my swivel ski. Oh yeah, I want a swivel ski. I'm going to buy one. And I have the boat.
Yes. So. Okay, so when you're getting ready for competition, is there a song that you have to have? Do you have like some routine? Like some people have a certain song they have to listen to, or wear something particular. Is there anything for you that's like that?
I used to have this thing where I had to braid my hair a certain way. But I don't do that. But I do like to I like to have just a little moment to myself and go through my run in my head. And it's just a moment I need. And then the rest of the time I like to be with people and just take it all in, because competition for me is not competition. It's fun. I do it for fun, you know, and I think some people forget that it is about fun. And I just go and I be and I do, and it doesn't matter what stage it's at. I just want to do my best, and if that's good for other people, it's good. So I don't really have a song. I you know, when I train, when I'm in the boat, in the mornings, I do have like a playlist.
Okay, I was gonna say there has to be something.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Do you have it where you play it on earbuds, or because you're
I
in the
play
water?
it in the boat on
Okay,
the stereo in the boat.
Okay.
And usually it's a bunch of female empowerment songs.
There you go. See, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah. And it usually ends with like, we shall overcome.
Oh, right on. Yes.
So yeah, cause I ski with a lot of men, only men really most of the time. And my best girlfriends are men. But I think it's important to remember I am a woman and I am different, and I can be just as strong as anybody else. And I tell this always to my nieces. I tell this to my my kids that I teach to ski. I go, there's a few things you need to know as a woman. You know how to back up a boat trailer. You need to change a tire, check your oil. You need to learn how to do everything that you need to do for all of your stuff. Don't rely on anybody, because that always has driven me crazy. Well, I'm single and I don't know how to change a tire. Well, frickin' do it. I've done it on the side of I-85 in Atlanta in a mini skirt and boots. Anybody can do it, So I think that, we need to remember that we need to be capable and not rely on anybody for anything, So my husband, when his car breaks down, he calls me. What do I do?
So crazy cool. That's just awesome. And I love that, because I think that goes everything with what you've done throughout your career to what you do with your passion, your hobby, and just being a strong woman in general. Like, just, you have a strength about you, and you're humble too, genuine and kind and authentic. And those qualities are so important and inspiring and just amazing. I don't know how to put it.
I think that I was raised by strong women, and I think I have an auntie who's will be 100 years old on Christmas Day, and she was always one that encouraged women to stand up for themselves. And I got my dad used to call it, yeah, your family has a bunch of domineering women. No, we're just women who know what we need and want. We were just raised that way. And I think that if I had like one message I could give to women is that, do your thing, be confident in who you are, because, think about the confidence of a mediocre middle-aged white man. And if you could carry yourself with just a little bit of that confidence of a mediocre middle-aged white man, think about what you could do, right? Like, that whole saying about what would you do if you knew you could not fail? And I think women, a lot of times, they want to be the best at what they do before they move forward. Sometimes you just need to go forward and fake it till you make it, like do your thing, do you, be confident, and then remember to turn around and reach down and help lift up other women. Because a lot of times I think women, we have been put as adversaries against each other in the business world, in the corporate world, in athletics. If there's only room for this many women, right? And so we were put in this box, and we already have a woman on the board of directors. We don't need another woman. No, you need the best people, and that might be 5 women. You don't know, but you always need to remember that woman is not my adversary. I need to lift that woman up. And I always try, even when I don't agree with other women, I always try to lift them up and let them do what they need to do. Because I think that so many times we are competing against each other and we eat each other up.
Yeah, well, it is. And this message, just this piece of the podcast by itself, to me, is everything. Mm-hmm. This is everything that I believe, that not only there are women that are like yourself, that's how you are, but that's what we all should become. Like, that's how we all need to become and be. Because the difference of you, and when I say strong, and you're strong in character, you're strong in who you are, you've been a strong career woman, but you do it with such a level of, like you said, where it's not competition, or you're not like, there's not a bitchiness about you. That's the only way to put it. Where a lot of times, you know, when people say boss babe, or, you know, when somebody's in a high powered position, there's almost like they got to carry this bitchy side. Like they have to have both. Like you can't be a nice person and be strong. You have to like be this, you have to have this nasty piece about you. And it's not true.
No, it's definitely not true. I think, you know, it's so, you know, I may not have gotten there as quickly, but I'm proud of everything that I did. And I don't regret anything that I did. And, you know, I made mistakes. I maybe, you know, trusted the wrong people at times, but I definitely, like, I never wanted to do anything that I would be ashamed to tell my grandmother I did. So I always try to do that, even on social media. When I put something on social media, and I say, you know what would grandma say about that? You know, so you want to always remember to be true to yourself, to thine own self be true. I know it's William Shakespeare, I think, but to thine own self be true, and don't try to be who you're not. And I know who I am. I know I'm not, you know, I'm not on camera. I'm not the most well-spoken, but I so want women to, I'm like the biggest fan of women, and I want women to succeed because we have so much to give the world. And so many times we are stuck in, we need to be the best before we move forward. No, we just need to move forward.
Seriously, best part of our conversation, and our whole conversation was incredible. And I thank you for doing this with me, for being on and sharing your heart and just your authenticity. Like, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds, and for you, and hopefully one day writing a novel, maybe.
Oh yes. You stay tuned, because that is my ultimate goal, is writing that great American novel, and it will be amazing. I just don't know what it is yet.
I love that. So you heard it here first. So when the novel comes out, we're going to rewind back to this. Yeah, you'll be back to talk about it. Betsy, thank you again so much. And where can people find you, follow you, like if they want to get in touch with you?
On Instagram, it's at Betsy Barefoots. Betsy, Betsy, Barefoots with an S. And I think on Twitter at Betsy Barefoots, but I'm less on Twitter since it became so political. So Instagram is my thing. So
we love IG.
At Betsy Barefoot. Yes.
That's awesome.
So,
all right. Well, thank you again so much for being on.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today. If you like the podcast, please like and share this with other women in your life. You can find out more about SweatNet on sweatnet.com, or follow them on Instagram at SweatNet and SweatNet Charlotte. You can follow me personally on Instagram at itssealsmart. Stay tuned for the next episode of the SweatNet Be Amazing podcast.